there were some form of licensing that went out last year. And that does not, translate to a direct increase in terms of our production of oil. It didn't translate to that. So the question we should be asking is that now that we are going this route, is it going to translate to what we have envisaged as a country?
Why are we not having state governments come out and collaborate with major oil companies or local oil companies, international, whatever, and participate in these bids, knowing fully well that state governments can push for exploration and not just pick up a license and keep it so.
So the reason why, no matter where the country you're coming from, you must have a local participation. So a percentage of your shares at that, I think a 20% or 30%, I'm not really certain, must belong to Nigerians or a particular companies. So this collaboration is not just that big companies are coming to drill like the Totals, the Shells and all that. We also have Nigerian dividends there. So the dividends are going to come back to the Nigerian economy, meaning it's not just going abroad, it's coming here.
This is Soup Business Landscape. Now, the federal government is targeting $10 billion investment. Now, we're looking at 2 billion barrels. SSSS opening up 2 billion barrels in Nigeria through the oil bid round for this particular year, 2025. The federal government has launched the Nigeria 2025 Petroleum licensing round, aiming to attract 10 billion in fresh investment and unlock 2 billion barrels of crude oil reserve. Well, that should be good news, but it's not the investment we're talking about. Unveiling the bid round in Abuja, Chief Executive of the Nigerian Upstream Petroleum Regulatory Commission, Benga Komolafe, said 50 oil and gas blocks across onshore shallow water frontiers and deep water terrains are up for grabs. I like that. He described the initiative as a strategic move to reverse declining exploration activity, expand reserve, and boost national production capacity. Komolafe said the bid process will follow a two-stage format to ensure transparency and investor confidence in line with 73 of the Petroleum Industry Act 2021. Detailed guidelines have been made available on the Commission's portal. Stakeholders are encouraged to participate in what the agency called one of Nigeria's most robust and transparent bid rounds to date. Now, this is one story we want to see, not just on the news, not just on papers, but we want to see real investors come in and do the bidding and win the bids and not just get the licensing and put it in a cupboard or use it as a financial instrument, but get to the field and explore.
I think that this is a good one for the federal government because the bids
for the federal government or for Nigeria.
Federal government.
Are we separating Nigeria from federal government?
The federal government first because they own your allocation. It's what they give to you at the end of the day. Let's be honest.
Which federal government? The people we put there. Or the civil service?
The Federal Republic of Nigeria.
That is awesome.
So the first thing is FG gets the money. And then it trickles down. So it's how they decide to disperse it that gets to you. Now, this is good for the federal government and the people of Nigeria because licensing bids comes with a particular fee. And whether you get the license or you don't get the license, fee paid. Otilo is like writing jam. If you pass or you don't pass, it's done. And so these monies first are good. They would help to offset certain bills. Let's not talk about the NNPC fiasco. But this is a good one. And since it's under NNPC, these monies are also supposed to go in between the federal government and a percentage to NNPC. So good one. The second thing is for the upstream. Most of the people that are bidding for those ones are big companies because to set up an upstream drilling facility takes 10 years, takes 5 to 10 years, like building a refinery because you have to talk about the drills, you have to locate the oil wells. So it is a capital project on its own. So at this point, we are looking at big companies, and also the FG has opened it to international companies as much as local companies that collaborate with international companies. The international companies must have you can't just, no matter where the country you're coming from, you must have a local participation. So a percentage of your shares at that, I think a 20% or 30%, I'm not really certain, must belong to Nigerians or a particular companies. So this collaboration is not just that big companies are coming to drill like the Totals, the Shells and all that. We also have Nigerian dividends there. So the dividends are going to come back to the Nigerian economy, meaning it's not just going abroad, it's coming here. That's one.
Okay, but
so we're looking at financing.
We have Nigerian companies also.
I said we have. I'm talking of, that's what I'm saying. For the upstream, we have,
Nigerian companies
that's why I said we
now.
have very few because of the capital intensity. So it is more of collaborations that we have. Even the Nigerian companies we have, they have collaborators from foreign. There's no pure Nigerian company, I stand to be corrected, that is drilling upstream, not midstream and downstream. Now, for midstream, a lot of Nigerian players are there because that has to do with the refining of the oil, the packaging. So we have a lot of capacity. Of course, we know the Dangote refinery, which is the biggest in West Africa, which is playing a big role in the midstream. Now, for the downstream, which is, way easier, that one has been saturated by the local oil companies, which is us, which is from a lot of Nigerians. I even hear that some other African countries too are playing in. I don't know how true that information is. So it's a win-win for us. Now, the targeted 2 billion barrels, OPEC has refused to increase our our ratio. No, as of last week, they said they weren't going to increase. They were just going to give us.
That was
yes.
We approached OPEC. We were not even asking for too much.
Yes.
Good. So the quota we even have in the first place, we are not meeting it.
We are not meeting it.
On the regular.
Now the federal government feels we can. Now we know the other countries that have spent their years enjoying our excess that we don't meet. But information coming out shows that Nigeria we actually meet, but it's not documented because those particular barrels of oils, they come in, but we can't ascertain.
Since you cannot ascertain, can you please say allegedly?
So right now, that's why the federal government is now bold enough to tell OPEC that, look, we know that right now we have put some things in place. We have technology tracking now. We have one or two things that are in place. Can we ask for more because we can meet it? It's looking funny because some people were wondering why is the Nigerian government asking for more when you are not even meeting the one they have given you. So this is saying that for next year, we are going to do more in oil and gas sector. So it's looking very good for Nigeria. Expansion, it's also going to lead to a lot of expansion. But the fear I have, the challenge I have is oil spillage, environmental damage, because the more companies that come in, you are more likely to see this. Good thing the Oil Spillage Act is going into play where whenever there's an oil spillage between 24 hours to 48 hours, your company owes that community to do a cleanup and do some kind of projection for the community, which has been working very well. That's why we haven't been seeing a lot of oil producing companies communities crying out.
Has it been reported? This is where the issue is. Have we been reporting?
Yes, at least I was listening to somebody who talked about it and was saying, look, the task force on the 24-hour to 48-hour oil spillage has been following up very well.
Hold on.
Yes.
The areas where we have the spills already, the areas where they have been degraded, to what extent do we have cleanup? That's another story on its own.
So there's a 24-hour now. There's a that's what I'm saying.
There's an hours.
That's what I said.
Good.
Some people that work at the oil and gas, they were saying that has been followed up, especially with this administration.
Reporting or cleanup?
Cleanup.
You can't clean up in 24 hours. You can't even clean up in 1 week.
24 to
you can't even clean up in some
they are
cases
the
in
basics.
1 month.
Hold on. They are the basics you can do. They are the basics you can do.
Okay. While we look at the basics we can do,
sometimes you can't even clean up for months.
Let's talk about.
That's if you don't want to clean up for months. Because when it happens in other, that's what I'm saying. When it happens in other developed countries, when it happens in other developed countries, the cleanup doesn't last for months.
Hold on. It depends on the level of pollution.
It doesn't last for months.
Some can.
Some last for years.
Let's look at this particular licensing options, this particular licensing round that we're looking at right now. If you remember some time ago on this same table, we were talking about those that have already obtained licenses and we're not exploring. Now we're having another bid for licensing. And the agency is telling us, okay, good, there is 2 billion reserve and want to open it up. Should we go hunting those that have licenses and have not started exploration for more than 1, 2, 3 years first before opening this round?
They've done that.
But we've not had that publication of say, okay, we are striking this, we're striking that.
They've done that. Okay, so on this table, I also remember was having the conversation where the relevant agencies came out and gave the warning headlong that if you they that's not only the first time. They first of all gave the warning that they are in fact they collected names that if you fall into this category of those who got license from the government and you have not been to the field and you left the national, more like a national asset, they're dysfunctional and moribund. We are going to get back those licenses from you. And after then, I think the Minister of State for Oil, not Ekperikbo is gas, right? Then Heineken Lokbobri should be for oil. If I'm not mixing them up, came out and talked seriously about the government taking back these licenses that have been given to some of these organizations, some of these companies who are using it to transact as third-party businesses or using it for collateral to get monies from the bank and for other reasons for which the licenses were not meant for.
Yes, but we only saw them take license off about 2-3 companies that had Asia connection.
No, not 2-3. I think they took these licenses from more than 2-3 companies. After then,
the list that was published, we've not seen a follow-up to tell us that maybe these people have met the target or they've been in the field or they have committed this amount of funds to start exploration. We've not gotten a feedback.
Why did the government went through that route? Because there is a need for us to increase our level of production, not only to meet the target of 2 million barrels per day, so that we, at least to a certain extent, will be able to sponsor the 2025 budget. Not only because of that. But one of the reasons was that, if you remember last year, there were some form of licensing that went out last year. And that does not, translate to a direct increase in terms of our production for oil. It didn't translate to that. So the question we should be asking is that now that we are going this route, is it going to translate to what we have envisaged as a country?
If they start drilling after the license.
Yes. And the people who should be coming to license from this, if you look at the report that you read very well, the government is also going to test their technical capacity and all other requirements that give them the right standing to be able to do that.
This process, they do it regularly.
Yeah.
Now, let's ask this question. Why are we not having state government? Let me not say state governors. Why are we not having state governments participate in this exercise?
Okay.
State government, someone said it on this table yesterday, they all have investment arms. All of them, whether it's direct or indirect, they all have investment arms. Why are we not having state governments come out and collaborate with major oil companies or local oil companies, international, whatever, and participate in these bids? Knowing fully well that state governments can push for exploration or not just pick up a license and keep it so.
So the reason why,
just a moment.
Yes.
So the thing is, one thing that we must put into consideration, it's depending on some factors.
Yeah.
State governors state government must have, an investment blueprint highlighted for their states that look in the next 10 years, knowing very well that as a state governor, the highest that you can spend in office is 8 years. And if you are unlucky, it's just 4 years if the election does not favor you. Now, this exposes the tendency of the state governors to not want to embark in long-term investment plans because they feel it can be myopic and greedy. Given the fact that, if it succeeds, I may not be there to watch over it or to have a direct or indirect connection to it as for me to gain or one thing or the other. So most of their investment plans are short-term. Others that are long-term is just the necessities. Now, this is very, very core and very key. These 50 oil blocks are spread across different terrains in the country. So that means we should have some in Bayelsa, we should have some in Delta, we should have some in maybe Edo State, we should have some in River State, we should have some in Ondo State, and scattered all over the Niger Delta State. So if we have some in these strategic states, what stops those state governors to come out and say, look, look at Lagos State. Most of their companies, some of their companies are local that carry out some of the contracts that they do across the state, and they do it very well. If you can't establish a local organization because you feel the capacity to run may not be there, then liaise, like you said, with any other multinational company to go for this bid. And just because this is where politics have to meet business, and business needs to meet politics. As a state governor, Mr. President, look, maybe we don't even need to be in the bidding process, or maybe our presence in the bidding process might just be as a way of formality. We must be first responders, or we must have the right the right of first call, in the sense that we need, as a state, as part of our investment plan, to have an oil well in the upstream sector. So if we get this, if 50 is 50, we have 36 states. If as a state, a Delta state, if we are to have one or two, and we have demonstrated capacity, technical capacity, and all the required capacity to run with all the multinational organizations that we are going to partner with to make sure that effective drilling activities are going to take place in our own state, as long as 1 or 2 or 10 of those wells are found in our terrain, then we can do that. The government, I feel, will be lenient enough not only to do that, but you are going to obey. Your financial obligations will have to be fulfilled. If we do that, then those states can independently do that. And that could be in the next business blueprint for the next 8 or 10 years, because it is going to require 5 years to be effectively take off this plan. And just look at it in the next 20 years, what that will stand to do. It does not stop your allocation. It's going to increase your IGR as a state. And trust me, probably you will be rubbing shoulders with Lagos State in the future.
Okay. Why are you talking
the
about
plans are there.
So before you ask the question, I need to come on this issue.
Okay.
You hit the nail on the point. You hit the nail on the head, on the right spot, when you talked about the fact that it is greed, it's selfishness. Now we saw states like Port Harcourt, Rivers, that had Ogudu cattle ranch, and the next administration felt if he continued in the line of his predecessor, the praise will be too much. In the United States, Arizona does that. Arizona invests in oil and gas. They have a sign that if you're coming to drill in Arizona for oil, there's a percentage that goes to every citizen. So if you're from Arizona, from $600 and above, it's paid for monthly. There's a tuition fee for school. There's a college fund for you set up as a child once you are from Arizona, because that's what they have worked on. There was a time that I know Tinubu was talking about that for Lagos State, but of course it's, Nigeria. People are like, why do the rich want to make money and the poor man's child is sitting at home and knowing that there's a college fund coming for him too? So it's just governors being greedy. We saw governors in Niger, from the Niger Delta State. In fact, there were 2 governors rumored under Obasanjo's tenure to have gone to invest in a refinery in South Africa that they lost out of. Now, imagine if those 2 governors from Edo and Delta decided to put monies together, like you said, and worked with Schlumberger, one of these companies, even not work with them fully, just work with them as a contractor that is giving,
they don't need to work with the foreign,
the right advice. I'm just saying at that time, those were companies that were successful, and you build this refinery that Dangote has built, but it will be in the middle of Niger Delta. A lot of cry we are crying about. We won't be crying. That would have been employment. That would have been state resources invested. But what we see is anytime a governor is looking at it, his own people will call him and say, sir, we don't know if the next CC party is going to be the one to win the election. If CC party wins the election, if you're investing in oil and gas, that's 5 to 10 years. So CC party will now take the glory. Of course, you can imagine CC party being there.
It is not a party property.
That is what I'm saying. It is greed. It is unfortunate that we have a lot of people in leadership who are not looking at the future of our children. That's why the insecurity is now coming up. Because if you don't invest in the lives of your constituency and have a future plan for them, you will see your children keep running to Lagos that has had a 20-year master plan. That's just the
if not more.
Okay. We are just trying to say, okay, we have party men and not nationalists. We have party men and not people that are business-minded. Even those that happen to be business-minded, when they get there, they just
you will hear that some of them, because there are rumors that a lot of governors from the South have personal shares in some of these downstream. In fact, they own most of these local companies you are claiming that we are now playing in.
Allegedly.
So now, allegedly, I say you will hear.
I will
now,
hear.
So look at the fact that instead of them to invest company money, they went to invest their own. Oshomole had tried to revive the cement company. Okay. He tried a partnership with Dangote, but that ended up in a fiasco. Imagine if a lot of state governments are doing that.
It's facilities in their states.
It's a win-win. But these people want to invest the state money for their, because they are looking at their children's future. They are not looking at the citizens of their state's future.
Before we get too personal, we are a business and a development station. And we want to see states do well. Not just do well, not compete, but do very, very well, because the opportunities abound.
Okay, there's a specific area I wanted to touch that I missed out.
Yes.
The upstream sector needs a lot of infrastructure development.
That's where the 10 billion the government is looking at coming in.
Exactly. And if you look at it very well, the players coming in there, most of them, if not 90%, are multinationals.
Okay, and hope we know that Nigerian companies are also growing multinational.
Of course, they are there. We know most of Nigerian companies are in the downstream sector and also in the shallow water. A few of them in the upstream sector.
Money involved.
Remember.
Yes, they are there. We want them to be there.
Yes.
We want them to be there, right? And we want them to do well when they are there, and also we want to equally have them in our minds that when they are there and they are doing well, they are going to walk like Nigerians and not walk like Nigerians on the gab in putting on the attire of a multinational company.
These are private.
They are private businesses.
Non-government.
Dangote is a private organization and is busy cutting fuel price here and there. We want to see that disposition coming from other investors in the country.